Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 59 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I am a being of pure energy. And I am joined, as always, by the indigestible Cowbell McBarbell.
I'm so glad I could be here to witness your ascension.
I have ascended to a new plane of existence. It is called the baseball playoffs plane. I don't fucking know. Oh God, it's bad. It's good, but it's also bad.
What's good for you?
It is good for me.
I can't contribute to baseball discussions, so you're going to need to go ahead with this one.
Great analysis, Campbell. Firing on at least one cylinder.
You know, I went to a towny bar and I watched a Sox game with a bunch of people three times my age. Well, here's the thing, it was a Sox game until we're like 48 ounces of Blue Moon in, and then it becomes God bless the Sox, and everyone is singing.
The Sox.
And there's Irish Bob, who's not actually Irish, he's English, but still he's Irish Bob, and he's here to tell you God bless the Sox.
You know what like the Red Sox song is they play at every game?
Yeah, Sweet Caroline.
Ba 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 ba.
Oh no. See, the worst part is I went to a wedding recently, which was a South Shore kid and someone from Georgia, and naturally that was on the playlist because if you're getting married in Massachusetts, I think you legally have to have that on your playlist somewhere.
I did not have it on my wedding playlist.
No, you did not.
So, yeah.
Your wedding, coincidentally, was not in Massachusetts, so there you go.
No, excellent analysis once again. God, we're fucking killing it today.
There's my second cylinder firing. I'm running out.
Okay, let's get into our aspects before anybody else turns off the podcast. And it's where we talk about what's on our hobby radar. So I'll start with hobby progress, as is the usual. And my hobby progress is the Washington Nationals are in the World fucking Series. And I know that many of you don't give a shit about that, and that's fine. But in real talk terms, which could be redundant, it doesn't matter. I haven't been painting a lot because I've been watching a lot of baseball. So I'm still working on Shrike. I've got some base coats down. I've got the second layer of base coats down. I'll be getting into the details soon. It's a great model. It's a ton of fun to paint. Mm-hmm. I think I touched on how I built him last time. Or did I?
I don't think you did. Or if you didn't, then why don't you just regale the audience and also me?
I didn't use his big jersey wall.
Cool.
That he comes with. There's a little piece of that is not attached to it. You have to glue it on to help stabilize it or whatever. And I just put that thing down and put one of his feet on top of that to even out the model because his feet are not at the same plane. So it looks good. He's just on a base. It doesn't have a giant, ugly jersey wall in it. And that is, I'm happy with it so far. It's really good. I used the head that comes with Shrike, the no helmet head. And I just want to say, before we continue, if you bought Chapter Master Kayvon Shrike and built him with a helmet, you're a coward.
I agree with this sentiment wholeheartedly.
People have been sending us pictures of their Shrikes, and like all of them have helmets on. And I don't understand why people would email us things that prove them to be cowards. It's just like, I will run it the first sign of danger. Oh, and also, here's my Shrike with a helmet.
That's incredibly incriminating. The only way it would be good is if you put the unhelmeted Shrike head on his belt. So potentially he would just switch between them. Kind of headless horseman style.
Yes. Excellent work once again, Mr. Barbell.
It is the bottomless well that is Kevin Shrike.
Kevin Shrike with a helmet. Helmet? Oh, no. Kevin Shrike with a helmet equals cowardice. This is known. And if you disagree with that, then fuck you.
Ooh, strong words from a strong man.
So yeah, I've been watching a lot of playoff baseball. My wife's uncle passed away, so I had to go to a funeral. I haven't had a ton of time for Hobby Progress, but I have gotten a few base coats down on Mr. Shrike, and he is looking fine so far. Can't wait to really get into him for the next 2 days before I have to go to Chicago for a week.
Yeehaw.
Oh man, this is great. I'm going to a Business of Marijuana conference in Chicago.
Those are 3 words. One is very fun, one is very not, and the other is of.
Yeah. And in Illinois, you can't smoke weed recreationally.
Okay.
So it's a perfect place for a marijuana conference.
Well, I guess it's like neutral ground.
I mean, they could have put it in a place where I could smoke weed, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, if it was in Colorado, everyone would know exactly what was up.
Yeah, they could have did that, but they're
throwing off the scent.
So yeah, it's going to be a whole nother week of no painting for me, which is just fucking great. So yeah, I'm slow and terrible, and this hobby sucks. Anyways, on to you.
So unlike you, I haven't been watching baseball because I don't. And also, I've been painting a lot. I got a huge order of KR cases, so I finally got to use that Nova coupon so I could decant some of my old armies into a more consistent storage solution, which is nice. But I also...
Why do people always say decant when they talk about moving armies around?
It's moving something from one container into another. It's like
Does it make you feel fucking fancy over there?
It makes me feel incredibly fancy. Thank you very much. Now, please.
Look at me. I'm Campbell McLaughlin, and I'm decanting my armies because I'm from Massachusetts.
I'm just going to decant all my Iron Warriors into a large crystal vase.
I have decanted my Iron Warriors, and I will be imbibing them.
Okay, first of all, I was like, I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm like, no, that is like a medieval times accent.
Sorry, it took me a while, and I'm imbibing there, guys. I was like, fuck, how do I say fancy drinking? How do I say fancy drinking? Okay, so you moved your armies from one box to another.
Yes, armies that had been in boxes for over half a decade in some cases.
God, this is the most interesting podcast.
I know,
on the internet.
I know.
Here two grown men
interesting.
Talk about how one of them moved his toys from one toy box to a different toy box.
And the other one's talking about how he watched other people have fun on TV.
Oh, God, we are so good at this.
We're incredibly good at this, and we're only like 10 minutes in.
All right.
So I did get actual building and painting progress, in which I know what you all came here for. So I built and primed 5 Reavers. The sergeant's cool. I gave him like a spike mohawk, which I'm pretty happy with. Yeah. And he's got like...
Did you use pieces from like a Goliath box or something?
No, I cut up an old Iron Halo. Yeah, which has like spikes where they're even like different heights. So I was able to kind of make it look like, bigger at the front and smaller as it goes back. Ooh. I was thinking about Goliath bits, but I couldn't find like a spare head crest because I don't think they give you enough. So that was that. But I also painted chapter champion Brigati and Gladio.
Oh, God damn it.
So he came out super good. I'm very happy with how he came out. And
this fucking bit is going to kill me.
Yeah, I know.
Every time you say one of your goddamn character names, and I have to play the stupid fucking Tarantella.
Well, here's the thing. Everyone has to build on the other one. So, like, next week when I finish painting Librarian Parmigiano Reggiano, you're going to need to put this in there, too.
Oh, fuck me, dude. That's hilarious.
So I also built and painted 10 flagellants for Age of Sigmar / Old Warhammer Fantasy using a mix of my normal speed painting techniques and also contrast paints, which I was, they're not a one size fits all fixing tool, but for stuff like that, they worked really well. And contrast, then a line highlight, even if it's a kind of rougher or wetter, or like thinner highlight or whatever, looks fantastic. Like, I'm very happy with how it came out in those guys. I think using them on like hard armored Space Marines like they do in a lot of the marketing material is kind of missing the point. On stuff like this where you've got a lot of like flowing robes and flesh color, like in flesh definition, so on. I think they're fantastic tools. But I also got, much like you last time, I got tiny planes for my birthday. So I have built and painted the Thunderbolts from that set. And if we weren't recording this right now, I would be putting the transfers on my Marauders right now, because those are almost done too.
Ooh.
And I painted all the bases for those, which I detailed in a article that will be up on Goonhammer in an indeterminate amount of time, but it will be up there eventually, and I'll plug it next episode when it's hopefully out.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested in that because I want to paint my bases too.
Yeah.
And I really like the way you did yours.
Thank you. The bare plastic bases look kind of like butt, I think. And I think it's a weird...
like butt and hole.
Yeah, there's 2 holes actually and 2 dials that you can read through. But they really... I feel like they dropped the ball on that. What?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you not paint those holes and dials?
Crack those fuckers open.
You cracked them open?
Yeah, they're just they've got like 3 little tabs inside and 3 little recesses for the tabs to stick into. There might be a tiny bit of glue, but I used I have these like green stuff shaper tools, which is thin pieces of metal essentially. A flathead screwdriver, a thinner flathead screwdriver do just as well. And I just jammed that between the wheel and the base, popped it, jammed that between the other wheel and the base, popped it, and then was able to get it out pretty easily. Fuck. So then I just flipped them over, painted those, left the dials elsewhere, and then painted them all separately, reassembled it. Boom, done.
Damn, homeboy.
Yeah, it's not hard.
That is exactly the content I'm fucking looking for right now because I'm about to do that to my Aeronautica bases.
Yeah, just watch on Goonhammer for another week or so, and you'll see them up there. I'm very happy with the results I got, and I've seen other people do like modeled bases. Part of me kind of wishes I did that too, but whatever. Like using the ruins from fucking robot game Titanicus, using those on there and doing the model base kind of more like a typical wargaming base, but I want to keep them legible and really easy to read.
How do you do that with the altitude?
That's situation? The thing. You do the same thing like as I did for the starter, then you would just build at the base like you would any other base and then pop the plane on, pop the whole thing together. But I think that makes it hard to read the altitude meter because like I want to be able to just look over and say like, okay, that's how fast he's going, that's how high he's going, not have to like peer around a building or a statue or an epic scale rhino to see that, oh, that's a 5 or whatever.
Yeah, so in a lot of those older dogfighting games, like the World War II style dogfighting games, they use telescopic rods.
Yeah, they do.
To show what the altitude is. And I've seen games like that played and it looks pretty stupid.
Okay, there was at Historicon, there was a World War I fighter plane game like that, and they were all on the big telescopic rods, except the planes were like 28 millimeter scales. They were fucking huge. Oh, wow. Like they're all the size of like a 40k flyer, maybe a little bigger.
Retract my statement of fucking stupid.
And it was on a massive like 10 foot by 10 foot table. I think it might have been a hex grid too. And every single guy playing had a little console that was like hand carved made of wood, little console where you had like all these little battleship pegs going in there. It was very involved. I saw it every single year I was at Historicon. I hope they're still running that game now. I have not been to an HMGS event in over a decade, but
average age of the players?
I would assume somewhere between dad gamer and great granddad player. Like maybe some of them remembered the first Great War, but yeah, it's but it's a historical miniatures wargaming society. They tend to be a bit older.
Yeah.
And I'm happy they're still enjoying the hobby.
I mean, maybe I should stop with the ageism because apparently, according to at least one emailer, I'm
my fucking
old.
God. Yeah. Ripe old age of 35, 1 foot in the grave, 1 foot in the casket.
Except I'm not 35, I'm 34. Boom!
Well, give it a year. Give it a year. Well, watch out for me. I'm officially in my late 20s. I'm 29 now. I know it's
late 20s. That starts at 27.
No, the early 20s are ages 20 to 27. Mid 20s is 28. Late 20s is 29.
What are you fucking talking about? Early any decade is 1, 2, 3. Okay, because when you're 20, you're not in your 20s. You're 20. All right, 21, 22, 23, early 20s.
20 is a 20.
It's 20. It's not in your 20s when you're 20. It's 20. I feel like I'm saying 20 weird.
Yeah, you are saying you're saying 20 plenty of times, and every time is sounding stranger than time before. This is the content we are famous for.
1, 2, 3, early. 4, 5, 6, mid. 7, 8, 9, late. Fucking write that down, listeners. Book that shit. I'm in my mid 30s.
The aunt joke I was told said otherwise.
What?
Never mind.
Okay, thanks for help. Thanks for chiming in with that there, fella.
Thanks for nothing, friend.
That was good. That was a good one. Any more hobby progress?
No, I don't think there is any more hobby progress, no.
Let's go to games played. Campbell, did you play any games?
I played half of one.
Ooh,
so similarly, on my birthday, my dad came up to town, and I really wanted to play the Return to Glazier's Creek mission from the June 2018 White Dwarf, which is the mission that is Rourke's Drift in all but name. Like, it was called Orc's Drift when they did it in the 90s, and they decided to file the numbers off this time around. So for those uninitiated, it is like a 50 power level defending force, which sets up in a 12-inch radius from the center. So you have to have like a little sort of fort sort of thing, and they get to set up the terrain as well. And the attacking player has 1 to 5 assaults, where they roll for how many units of what power level they use, with bonus units if they choose fewer assaults. And when half the attacker's models in that assault are dead, the assault ends, the defender rolls to see how many of their models are dead, wounded, or fit for service, and you move on to the next assault. So the mission is, as it's written, guard versus orcs, but you could really do it with any army. You might need to change. Some armies work better than others. Like, for instance, knights would not work very well in this mission, since it's balanced around about 1,000 points. But in this one, my first assault had my orcs do a ton of damage and shooting and take down a bunch of guardsmen in an assault before being driven off. And it looked like if this went for one more round like that, I would win. Then the second assault, I ended up with a kind of bigger horde sort of army. But by the time they got close enough to pull off charges, I failed like 4 or 5 of them in one turn and had enough of my dudes die on Overwatch that he broke the assault that round. And then we were going to go for the third assault, where I had like set up a kind of more elite force with a bunch of mega knobs and like a battle wagon and so on. And then I got a call from Anne that she had gotten a 2nd-degree burn at work, and I had to go pick her up.
Oh, no.
Because glue guns, fun fact, a glue gun, like you probably know it, heats up to about 100 degrees Fahrenheit-ish. Maybe a little more than that. Yeah. The glue guns that for some reason they have in the makerspace at the library are graded for ceramic work and are 400 degrees Fahrenheit at their hottest. Ugh. And when that touches your hand, it does very bad things. So she needed someone to pick her up and drive her around. So my dad and I only got to play half of that game, essentially. But it was fun when we played it. And yes, Anne is totally fine.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my gaming.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that Anne's fine. And I'm glad to hear that you had some dad games. Mm-hmm. I did not play any games between our last 2 weeks with the show. But you know, that's par for the course for me, because I just don't get to play Warhammer anymore. However, Campbell, a lot of other people played games last weekend or the weekend before. It doesn't matter. In the last 2 weeks, a lot of people have been playing games. And weirdly enough, I want to talk about those games.
Okay, why don't you fill me in on the games of possible strangers, possible friends, possible both?
So, on Goonhammer today, the website that both of us contribute to, and I read at least, they came out with an article detailing a big issue, with the 40k competitive meta. Now, hold up, listeners. Before you start throwing your iPods and Zunes into a nearby river.
My Windows Phone, no!
We're just going to talk about the 40k competitive meta for a second. And this article, which you should go read on Goonhammer, talks about how Iron Hands are running away with the meta. And it is
to a really disproportionate degree.
It's a ridiculously disproportionate degree, where 6 out of the 11 majors of the past 2 weeks, that's major tournaments, and I don't really know how many people it has to be for it to be a major, but doesn't matter. Big tournaments. 6 out of the 11 were won by Iron Hands, and then something like 45% of all Space Marine, or it was either all Imperial or all Space Marine lists, were Iron Hands lists. They're running away with it because they're too powerful. Is the conclusion that they made over at Goonhammer, and the one that I, quite frankly, I'm not really much of a competitive player, but I pay attention and I have friends who are much into it, and it seems it's ridiculous right now. The strength of this codex until today, kind of, where this morning, as I was sitting down at my desk for work, the old Discord was gearing up into a frothing sea of anger, as it usually does, because Games Workshop released a FAQ or an errata, whatever, where they, the 2-week FAQ.
Yeah. The customary 2-week FAQ.
They did one for Raven Guard, and they just clarified a couple of things. because, Raven Guard, while powerful, isn't completely broken. But so they did the almost exact same thing with Iron Hands and didn't change anything, and the internet exploded. Cut to about 45 minutes later when they release a longer FAQ that was FAQing the first FAQ with designer's commentary in there to say, like, yeah, we were kind of incomplete with this the first time around, so we're going to do it again here. And this one changes the way a few things work in Iron Hands, making a couple of their builds not as good. But it doesn't change the major problem with Iron Hands. And if you want to know what that is, I would seriously go towards Goonhammer and check that article out, because it is really, really fascinating. But this Iron Hands problem, Campbell, it's a fucking issue. I know at least 2 players who have quit playing competitive 40k until Iron Hands gets quote unquote fixed, whatever that means.
Okay, so I kind of got the interior side of this, where I see a bunch of Goonhammer guys being like, all right, we got this article ready to go. Fuck, we need to edit it. Then an hour later, fuck, we need to edit it again. Yeah. Because things kept changing. And from what I read, I read it earlier, and I'm like, okay, I didn't encounter a lot of those. Like, I haven't read the Codex supplement, and I haven't read a bunch of analysis on it until today. Like, I have my one game against Spencer a few weeks ago where it was like, it was tough, but it was still like doable if I played, since I played the mission.
Can I cut in for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
So I realized when I was editing that episode, I thought you had said Iron Warriors first.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said scrub it back, because I know I spoke correctly. Scoreboard.
So please allow me to apologize for mishearing you in that instance.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, please continue.
No, it's fine. Yeah, in my game against Spencer, it was tough. Like, it was a hard army to play against, especially with like the sort of more unconventional artillery company sort of aspect of it. But because I was able to play to the mission, I was able to pull it through. But he wasn't doing the really like this. I think the multi-character dreadnought thing, I think that might be something they scrubbed out.
Yeah, no more multi-character. You can only do it once.
Yeah, but like he didn't have like the absolute castle that apparently was a big issue with a lot of like taking half damage, then we're gaining 6 wounds and also getting an invuln save on every vehicle in the world. Like, everything seems like sensible changes they made, but it also seems like they should have caught this earlier, because I know there are playtesters. I know some playtesters, and still, like, this seems like the kind of thing they should have caught earlier.
Yeah, it boils down, listeners, to their chapter tactics are just bonkers good. And compared to everybody else's, too good. Where in Devastator Doctrine, they are, they ignore movement for heavy weapons, firing heavy weapons. They get the Overwatch on 5-ups instead of 6-ups, and they get the 6-up Feel No Pain.
Yep.
So those 3 things, you combine those 3 things, it's a problem. And one of the big problems is that you look at White Scars, their combat doctrine doesn't kick in until turn 3 at the earliest. Raven Guard, combat doctrine kicks in on turn 2. Ultramarines, same thing.
Yep.
But turn 1, Iron Hands are at their most effective.
And they remain there for the rest of the game. They're 100% better at Overwatch than any other Marine, because they're hitting on 5s instead of 6s. And their 6+++, if you will, their 6-up Feel No Pain, gives them basically 20% more wounds whenever they're shot. And there's no points increase for any of their stuff compared to other Marine stuff or anything else. Yeah. So and they, our fellows in Goonhammer, like they talk about this kind of thing and they break the numbers down. They got our friend Kevin Jensen, who's like a math doctor, literally, is out there breaking it down, making it, for me, an idiot, understand things, which is very good. Like, it's kind of a problem. And even if they are nerfing Iron Father Pharaohs and the couple of other things they nerfed, like, it's not really going to change much. It's still good at its core, and you have to balance those things against each other, because if it becomes like, oh yeah, an Ultramarine tank costs 200 points, an Iron Hands tank costs 250 points, like, once you start getting that level of granularity in it, that's where things kind of get out of control, and things just need to be balancing each other to begin with.
I mean, I would argue that for Iron Hands, like, heavy weapons should cost more. Just like for Raven Guard, things that can pick out characters should cost more. Like, it just makes sense because they're better. And things that are better should cost more in the game, points-wise.
Yeah, I get that. But I also, mean, in theory, that means, like, Ultramarine bolt guns are better than... Ultramarines get better bolt guns.
Ultramarine aggressors should cost
so
more
gross.
than
They're so gross.
Than Raven Guard aggressors or Salamander. Well, maybe not.
Salamander
aggressors, but Flame aggressors are just garbage. They're
not total garbage anymore.
They're still bad.
They're recycling.
Okay.
They're plastic for recycling. They're fine.
Sure. Anyways, so we rarely comment on stuff like the competitive meta, but this is a problem. And it's a problem because people are not going to want to go to a tournament, spend money to go to a tournament or buy a hotel room or a flight or lug their army around to go and meet a bunch of Iron Hands players who are going to dumpster them on turn one.
Well, I think also the difference between it being like us not caring about the competitive meta is that this cascades down to the more casual and more narrative game too. Like, okay, there were not a ton of Iron Hands players before 2 weeks ago, but in our average games, I have never played a game where it is 3 Blood Angel Smash Captains, a platoon of Catachan Guard, and a bunch of Knights backing them up, or whatever thing is hot that week. I know you have because you play against Mike Brandt, who's a very competitive player.
Yeah.
But in the meta I play in, that is not something I encounter. While just Iron Hands, just like a chapter of Space Marines, that is something I'm more likely to encounter. And something I have encountered and I have, had a hell of a game with. But that's something I'm going to run into, or anyone could run into, or people who might have been playing Iron Hands beforehand who are like big fans of the Sons of Medusa and all that stuff, who are now being like called, whack bastards or whatever because they are playing this list that is now good, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like tomorrow Black Templars are going to go from having 3 sentences that say you can reroll charges, I guess, into the most overpowered book in the world or whatever. But I could see how that could happen where it's like, oh, this was my army and now it's really good and I don't want to play it anymore because my friends won't play with me anymore. Like, I don't want that to happen to anybody. So.
No, and I think it speaks to a little bit of myopia on the part of Games Workshop, where maybe playtesters didn't get a chance to look at this stuff or didn't get enough time to look at it or something. It just seems like it's kind of out of control with balance issues. And if you want, like, one of the great things about 8th edition is that it is comparatively more balanced than 7th edition.
Yes.
Right? Where, the formations were just completely out of control. And there was like some armies like Imperial Guard were pretty low tier, and then things like Space Marines getting like 700 points of free stuff because they brought their right amount of dudes. Like that sucks. That's no fun.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at things in terms of balance, you got to try to balance stuff. Because it's not going to be a fun game. It's not going to be the thing that is selling like gangbusters and propping up the British economy and selling out Nova and Adepticon and LVO and LGT and all these big events across the world if the game isn't good.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, again, we don't really comment on this stuff too much, but it kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's something that can cascade down. Yeah, it does kind of suck. And I mean, I'm not going to change my plans at all. Like, I'm still going to Adepticon, Nova, whatever the hell I can get to. But it is it is a bummer. I'm putting this down on fucking tape right now at Adepticon when we play in the friendly. Yep.
You're going to have 3 amazing games. Yep. You're going to be like partying and fucking chilling out. And I'm going to have to slog through 3 fucking Iron Hands games.
And mine are all going to be against people I know too. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I'm going to go against 3 surly Iron Hands players.
You're going to play against 3 different Glens with unpainted Iron Hands armies. Or like this one is spray paint yellow, but they're Iron Hands, honest.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. That's going to be a good one. All right, let's move on to new stuff. And so the Blood Bowl Lizardmen are on sale. Yeah. And to all you Blood Bowl players out there, I just want to say, enjoy only playing against Lizardmen, fuckos, because now that they're in a box that you can just buy, like, fuck, they're going to be everywhere. And you don't play Blood Bowl, and neither do most of our listeners, but I'll tell you guys, lizards, they're good. They're real good. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't lizards, then it's not like playing dwarves, which is just boring.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that when you're playing against lizards, you're like, fuck, I got to concentrate now. I can't autopilot this shit.
I actually have to play the game.
Yeah, you have to. I got to think. Fuck. Yeah.
I don't play games to play games.
The models are fantastic. The little chameleon skinks look really cool.
Yeah, they do.
It's a good kit, and I imagine we'll end up seeing a lot of those when I go to Adepticon and start playing in the Super Bowl there. So the Sisters box, they opened that up and they showed us the contents, and buddy, that's a fucking box, dude.
Yeah, the weird thing is though, they're all single pose. Like they're not multi-pose models, which really confuses me.
Well, every battle box or whatever, like, I guess no, because like Reavers and shit come in some of these boxes. I don't know. They look great though.
I mean, well, here's that. I don't really give that much of a shit. Like, I still intend to get this. Like, I don't know if I'll get it, but I intend to get it, and that does not throw me off. Like, oh no, two sisters with bolt guns have the same pose. How could this happen? Like, I'll live.
Let's quickly run down what's in this box.
Okay.
1 Canoness, 10 Battle Sisters, 5 Seraphim, 1 Repentia Superior, 4 Repentia, 3 Arcoflagellants, and a Penitent Engine.
The Arcoflagellants look so fucking good. The Penitent Engine looks so fucking good. The Repentia looks so fucking good. Everything looks so fucking good.
Yeah, so 2 or 3 of these boxes is an instant army. Yeah. Which is cool.
That is
I hope
very
they don't cost too much.
They are probably going to cost, well, figure Shadow Spear was $100. Right? Shadow Spear is $170.
$170? Yeah, probably $170.
I think it's going to have the codex in it, though, so it's probably going to be more like $200 something.
All right. Well, yeah. I hope that's not the only way you can get the codex.
I assume it will be for a little while.
That's
either way.
Sucks.
Whatever. Dude. Oh, yeah. You know, my 5th edition Dark Angels army started with an army box where you got the codex and it came out a little early. So it's not a new thing.
Yeah, but it's not a good thing.
Yeah, maybe we'll come at the same time. We'll find out. We'll find out real soon, I think.
Yeah. So Sisters coming out. The box looks a lot of fun. Oh gosh, man, those models though.
Yeah, I don't super care that they're single pose because they're really nice.
As a lapsed Catholic, like Sisters, like that's just fun. That's just fun stuff, you know.
It speaks to something. Having that context from youth really it speaks to it.
Yeah. The flagellants or whatever, those things, like that's another horrifying thing that the Imperium makes.
Yeah, that's based on a horrifying thing that happened in the real world. Like the flagellants I just painted for the Age of Sigmar fancy ones, whatever. Like those models have a lot of that going on. Not quite as much as the Arcoflagellants. Yeah. Because the Arcoflagellants is that turned up not to 11, but to 40,000.
It really is. Yeah, I'm excited for that. And I hope that Sisters players are too. And I really don't want to become a Sisters player because I don't have
There's going to be a lot more of them. There's going to be a lot more Sisters players real soon.
Okay. Psychic Awakening. The psychics are awakening.
Oh, yeah.
They're waking up.
Sorry, I hit the snooze button a few times. I have not really kept up on it.
Okay, so Psychic Awakening, this round of Psychic Awakening at least, is going to turbocharge the Eldar.
Oh, that's why I fell asleep. I'm being shitty. The models look fantastic. We've talked about them last week, I think. But
but what we didn't talk about is apparently the box costs $230.
That's how much the Sisters box will cost then.
Oh, fuck. That's a lot, dude.
That's my guess. That's my guess then.
That is a lot of cheddar.
That's a good amount of dough.
That's a lot of cabbage.
I've never heard money referred to as cabbage. Okay, doll hairs I know. Cabbage I do not.
It's a lot of scratch.
It's a lot of moolah. A lot of simoleons.
A lot of greenbacks. A lot of bennies and some...
It's 2 bennies.
10s. Who's on the 10? Jackson?
No, I thought he was the 20. Jackson's the 20.
Jackson's the 20.
2 Benjamins, 1 Jackson, and 2 Lincolns. That's what I got right there.
Okay, so you're sidestepping the 10s.
Because I do not know what old white man is on the $10 bill right now. No, I do not.
Who's on the fucking $10 bill?
That's 230 George Washingtons.
I could search for it on my phone, but I don't want to.
I don't want to either. Listeners, don't write in about this.
We don't care. Okay, so yeah, it's a lot of money, and that's kind of too bad because there are some really cool models in there, but then there's like some old stuff too. Like there's a Viper.
There's a Viper, which is older than the average 40k player.
Those came out in 2nd edition.
Yes, they did. It's a great kit. Like, it has aged wonderfully because it's a Jess Goodwin sculpt, but it's an old kit.
And the Falcon, too. I don't think the Falcon has seen many updates since 2nd edition either. I
think I got an upgrade sprue in like 3rd or 4th edition that gave it some more options, but the base of the tank is still the same one from 2nd ed.
Yeah, but we do get some really nice new miniatures in there with Jane Zar, Drazar, new Incubi, and new Howling Banshees. And we've talked about them before. It's really cool stuff. Good sculpts.
Yep, about time. Okay. Like, I'm not an elf player, but I'm happy to see plastic aspects.
And we're getting more Marine toys coming up
that
have been in the Codex for months now. And we still haven't got it. But the Impulsor is getting released along with the Infiltrators and Incursors.
Right. So
all I words. It's getting confusing over here.
Yeah, that's true. I'm waiting for some Space Marine Oppressors to come out or something like that.
Marine Impressors.
Space Marine Ooh.
They're just there. Space Marine Impressionists.
Oh, God. They're abstract Space Marines. I don't. That's just like that's just melted plastic.
Some Cubist Space Marines. Oh, wow. Space Marine Impressionists. That's fun. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not like funny, but it's fun to think about.
Yeah, or they're just like
jealous
really.
Because my jokes are not nearly. You've had two bangers already this episode.
Oh, I have.
But I've got nothing except baseball chat. So
I also think Space Marine Impressionists are just kind of the guys at like the very bottom rung of the like stand-up circuit, just doing celebrity impersonations.
Is that an impressionist?
One who does impressions?
I thought impressionist. I was thinking like a painter.
Oh, I know. I was rolling with it because I wasn't gonna say Space Marine impersonators. What do you call a
person that does impressions? Is it an impressionist?
I would assume so.
But that would be one word meaning two different things, Campbell.
In this language?
Oh my God! All right, enough about impressionists.
All right. Well, there's also the Fist and Salamander things in pre-order. I think the Thunder Hammer on the Salamander sprue looks a little dinky. I'm not going to lie. It doesn't look as cool as the one on Adrax Agatone.
Adrax Agatone?
They did a video. They did like one of those like little 1 minute long video things. Studio. They did one of those little videos today with him saying like, I am Adrax Agatone. And I'm like, okay, that's his pronunciation then.
Oh, he's not Agatone?
Not Agatone, no.
Oh. Well, that's too bad.
That is too bad. Missed opportunity.
Well, Salamanders and Fists are coming. They are looking pretty good. And, we'll see what they've done a couple of rules previews here, and they do not seem crazy good. They're powerful because they're Marines and they have some good rules, but nothing we've seen so far, at least from Warhammer community, has shown them to be crazy amazing. Here's something that I don't like too much for Imperial Fists is a lot of their stuff is skewed towards attacking buildings.
Yes, it is.
Because people use those in games.
Fuck property values.
Maybe people use those in games in the Warhammer world in front of Games Workshop staffers, but I've never played a game of 8th edition 40k where somebody brought a building or a fortification.
Nope. I call that the terrain setup phase, and that's where I just take shit out of a box and put it on the table, and no one pays points for it because it's terrain. It's so niche. It's against vehicles, great, but I think the fact they roll in vehicles in there too is good. And I know, I think some of their powers affect things in terrain, not just buildings, which is good because what do you know? A lot of buildings or a lot of terrain is not a building keyword object. So
right. So I don't know. It seems like why would you do this? I get it flavorful, but it seems like wasted space to me.
I feel like there's space for some of those like flavorful. Why would you take this like the Vengeance for Calther, Vengeance for Istvan 5 or whatever, like those level of things. Like it's like, okay, 1 or 2 stratagems for flavor, 1 or 2 items for flavor. Okay, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah, but don't roll in like that much flavor. Don't go to Flavor Town in the fucking combat doctrine.
No, go to Flavor Town in an Impulsor.
Yeah. Paint flames on it.
I'm gonna match my Hellblasters.
Which Space Marine chapter likes Guy Fieri the most?
Oh, God. See, now this is the real question.
I think it's Salamanders.
I would say Salamanders.
Because Guy Fieri likes flames, the flame motif.
The flame shirt, yeah.
And he's also big into charity.
Yes.
And he seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's actually like an altruistic individual, which really suits the whole
It's
Salamanders
gonna suck
thing.
so bad when like something terrible comes out about Guy Fieri.
I really hope it doesn't. Same with Tom Hanks. Like, just leave them alone. Fate.
God, people, just don't be shitheads. Just
very easy not to.
Get out there in the world and just be good people, okay?
Flavortown has a no shithead policy.
I fucking hope it does. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to We Make the Call, where, guess what, Campbell, we make the call.
Yeah.
I got one.
All right.
You're ready for this. You're going to love this.
I'm prepared.
You're going to love this. You're not
Better not be about
maybe you will, maybe you won't.
again.
This is going to be like when you talk about anime.
Oh, God.
This is how you're going to feel in the fifth word of this question.
Okay.
From Nick. Oh, God damn it. Nick Ganakanto. Let the Tarantella lie there for a minute. Via email. Dan, I am also a baseball fan.
Oh.
The Nationals being my second favorite team behind the Orioles.
Oh. See, now I have some interest here.
To deal with my existential crisis of being a fan of such a bad team, I paint toy soldiers. Like being a fan of a baseball team, 40k has a lot of love-hate relationships or moments. What are some of your love-hate relationships with different aspects of the hobby, such as painting, playing, or lore?
Okay. All right. So you brought it back. It was no longer Dan makes the call.
Nick Ganekanto brought it back.
This is true. That's probably a Swedish name. Don't put Tarantella in there.
I'm fucking doing it. Can't stop me. I edit the show.
This is true. All right. So parts of the game that parts of the hobby I have the love-hate relationship with. I'm gonna ask you to go first here, just because I want to think for a second about some of mine.
Okay. Love-hate relationship. I'll say deploying. I have a love-hate relationship with, because like, to me, that's the hardest part of the game. And I love like putting out my models and seeing them on the table and taking that first picture of the game when everybody's deployed. But like the deployment phase is really where I feel anxiety in a game of 40k. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I done fucked up and the game hasn't started sort of feeling pretty often.
Right. Because like when you deploy poorly, you can't blame it on dice rolls. So I feel a little bit of anxiety during the deployment phase. I'd say that's a love-hate moment for me.
Okay, yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair. Gee, what do I? All right, because yeah, that's like how we have a love-hate relationship with Apocalypse, because like, man, the part where everything's set up looks fantastic.
Yeah, but then playing it sucks. Well, at least
now it doesn't.
Old Apocalypse, but new Apocalypse is actually a ton of fun.
Yeah, thick 40k sucked, but new Apocalypse is streamlined and fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd say a love-hate relationship is, touching back on something we've talked about before, is with the complexity of the game, because I love how characterful my Ultramarines supplement is.
Yeah.
But when I was playing in Spencer, I was like, wait, do Hellblasters get to shoot twice?
Playing in Spencer?
I would rather not. He is my friend, Daniel.
I could have misheard it, but I probably didn't.
No, he is my friend.
Sorry. Okay, I get with you exactly what you're saying on complexity.
Yeah, like when I was playing with him, I was just like, oh shit! All right, my bolters get to shoot twice when I stand still. Do my plasma guns? No, that's a bolter discipline. But they're still minus 1 AP because it's tactical doctrine. Like, I like that the rules interplay in these really interesting and cool ways. I think it's very creative. I think it's really characterful. I think it's a really great way to reflect so much of the lore and the universe and the models. And then I lose it. Like, I'm not in 7th. I got bogged down by all this shit because there was so much of it. In 8th, I just forget it.
No, that's that comes back to our conversation about, is 40k too complex?
Yeah, and I'd say
are there too many rules.
I'd say when it was just like Codex Space Marines, Ultramarines Chapter Tactics, okay. Codex Imperial Guard, Valhallan Chapter Tactics, okay. But when there is like a supplement for every flavor, and there is a little bit of like that, everyone has 30 more, 50 more, whatever stratagems that layer on top of the existing stratagems and relics and all that stuff, there's too much for me to keep track of, I'll be honest.
Yeah, like, I'm with you, man. I think I love having a Raven Guard supplement, but you know, I like that every army gets like a ton of cool rules and stuff, but Oh man, I just read this article on Gene Stealer cults over the last couple of days on Goonhammer, where they talk about all the crazy shit they can do. And even though I've played against Gene Stealer cults in a game, like it's just so fucking much to remember.
Yeah, it is a lot. I think that is my love-hate relationship, because like I really like when it all clicks and when it all rolls smoothly, it's a hell of a time. Yeah. And it's the best 40K's ever been when it's all moving smoothly. But the problem is, I think we've just gone over the cusp of it being a little too complicated.
Yeah, well, okay.
That's my love-hate.
I think we got two good ones there. And Nick, thank you so much for that. And listeners, remember, please email us your questions, contact@40kbadcast.com. We want to hear what you would like to know. This is one of my favorite segments. We make the call. So we want to keep making that call. So get out there and send us some emails. All right, let's move on. Our first discussion topic today is list building. And we're going to talk about what goes through our minds when we build a list. And there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just like get the best stuff to kill your opponent the quickest. For me and you, generally, yeah. For us, it's more like, for me, my main thing is like, what cool stuff do I want to use? And that can come into a lot of different ways. Like what cool stuff is not a thing that just means like, oh, it's really good on the battle. It's like, what looks cool? What did you do a particularly good job at painting? And what feels like the most thematic thing possible in your army. So I'm really, really excited that I had painted up some eliminators, as you know, because that feels like a very Raven Guard thing to have.
It's a very Raven Guard thing to have.
And they happen to be good. But that's the kind of thing that I think about is like, what's cool? What gets me excited?
Well, like everybody's different and everyone has their own thought process behind building a list. Like I know you and I are also, everything must be painted. If we're using it. Yes. If other people's stuff isn't painted, that's fine. That's up to them. But like I am not going to use something unless it's painted, or it's like I'm almost done painting it. I'm really excited to use it. But like I try to, because my gaming background started in 4th edition, I still have that very much like 1 HQ, 2 troops, like base to start from. But now it's 2 HQs and 3 troops, because that's the battalion detachment. So that's just like where I'm always going to start, because like my philosophy is like I need to start with that, and that needs to like go into an army that will reflect what you'd see typically in the lore. Like I've never been a gimmick list kind of guy. Like I've never been a dread mob or a competitive chaser, save for the time I was a competitive chaser and I built a loyal 32 to go with my knights. But even when I did that, it was a loyal 32 that fit them thematically and like rolled into the whole feudal theme there, because I think things that reflect the lore are like that's where I'm going to start for any list, no matter what. So
you have a baseline for every list in mind then?
Pretty much, yeah. And that's usually the stuff I paint first, just because that's the stuff I want to, often get out of the way first. But also because it means I can,
you got to eat your vegetables first, right?
Yeah, but it also means I can work out what the scheme's going to look like and what kind of flair I'm going to give. Like my first Intercessor squad has, they've got the cool heraldry on their knee pads and a back banner and a tilting plate. But then like the Reavers I'm building now, they all have they're all converted to have extra shit on them and like spikes and shields and, chain swords and all this stuff, just because I decided as I worked on the army, I'm like, oh, this is how this army is going to grow. So when it comes to how I build an actual list, it's always going to be starting there. But from there, I like to kind of go troops heavy, because that's what makes up the bulk of most armies in the lore. So that would be, again, like a lot of intercessors, a lot of hellblasters, a lot of ravers, and so on.
Yeah.
And I also have the, I don't think I'm unique in this, where it's whatever I finished most recently, I really want to put in the army no matter what.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Because it's definitely that new toy syndrome.
Yeah. So I have another point, I guess I want to make here. So I wrote down good units, but then I crossed that out and I said not bad units. Like actively bad units, I don't enjoy taking normally.
Yeah, because they're not actually going to do anything on the battlefield.
Right. I don't have to, like, I'm not going to bring 3 repulsor executioners to a fight for a couple of reasons. 1, I don't have 3, and 2, I don't really chase them out of that hard ever. But I don't like bringing like a Lehman Russ Eradicator, because they don't fucking do anything.
Yeah.
They just
I get that completely.
sit there and then they die. Or like Reavers up until the new Marine Codex. Like Reavers in the old Marine Codex were, I mean, they sucked.
Yeah, they were garbage that airdropped from a butt. Yeah.
That's good.
Stupid.
It's good. But
it's not wrong.
So for me, like, I don't want to take bad units. I mean, maybe not optimized units, but straight up bad units. I don't like taking those.
Mm-hmm. No, I agreed. Because that's the thing is, like, you want to take things that are cool. They might not be the optimal units, but you also want things that will affect the outcome of the game in some way.
Right. And I think that sort of dovetails into my next point. And it's a fun time. Mm-hmm. I want to take an army that's going to be fun for my opponent to play against. And a lot of times when you're in an event, like a multi-round event, the fun time stuff that goes down near the bottom of the list building thing for me, at least. But when I'm like meeting with a friend and we're going to get a game in, especially if it's like a narrative or more themed game, I'm like, okay, what's going to be fun to play with? Now, some of my friends, that's not a thing. Like if I'm going to go play Mike, I'm not going to, Mike Brandt is, fun time is not a fucking thing that matters because we're going to have fun anyways. It's more, the way he has fun is when he's like challenged in a game. And so I'm going to try to do my best to bring him a challenging list. But if I'm going to go play like you, it's going to be more of like what's going to be fun? What's going to cause some mayhem and either blow up or do something cool and make it be a laugh.
Well, that's the thing. It's not necessarily tailoring your list to the other person's list. It's tailoring your list to the other player.
Yeah.
Knowing who you're playing is going to influence how you build that list. Like, I definitely made the mistake of going to a few like friendly tournaments where I brought a fairly friendly list and I got fucking bulldozed because once there were tournaments in there, a lot of people don't care about any other words in the sentence. But yeah, if I'm playing against, I'd bring that list if I was playing against, say, Dylan. But I know Cody is a bit more of a shrewd player who's a bit tougher to take on. So I might take a list that's a little more optimized against him. But if I'm going to Nova or Adepticon or whatever, I might bring something maybe a little harder than that even. But I'm also still not going to be chasing the meta.
Right.
But when it comes to building that list out, like, I start with that battalion essentially with the 2 HQ, 3 troops, whatever. And then I just kind of fill to taste. Like, what toys do I like? How many of them can I fit in there? And then once I've got them all in this big pile, I go, can I sort these out to get more command points?
Yeah. Okay.
And then I might be able to be like, okay, that makes a little spearhead detachment.
This totally, again, dovetails what I was going to talk about. And I call it modular list building, where I'll have like blocks of units that have synergy with one another.
Oh, okay.
Like I'll have a block of like a Hellblaster block, which is a couple units of Hellblasters and a banner, company ancient or Primaris ancient. And then, I will want a captain and a lieutenant to go along with them. Yeah. Right. So that's a block of the army that I want to do. Or I'll have like a Lehman Russ tank commander, right? And and his escorting squaddies. Yeah. Where he's, so I'll have like a Vanquisher and he will roll with 2 regular Lehman Russes because that's like the squad in my mind. That's what the squad looks like. Or like a bunch of infantry squads and guardsmen where I'm going to have a company commander with them because they need to have one.
Yeah. I would never take a Landwehr Crusader without a squad of 16 Crusaders or I think 15 Crusaders and a character to go with them. Like, that's just kind of, again, list building in a very modular sort of way. Well, like Peter actually built his at least when he started this in like 5th edition. I don't know if he still does this now, but he has his armies kind of sorted out in 500-point chunks. Yeah. So he could not just modular list build, but also modular ally. When the allies matrix was a thing in like 6th and 7th.
Yes.
Which I think is a pretty cool way to do it too.
No, that's a great way to do it. It makes total sense because then you are, for me at least, like for my brain, the way it works is, I have the muscle memory of how much that costs because I'm I'm just remembering the group. It's a lot easier for me instead of like the single unit with all the options and shit. And so I'm like, oh, that group over there is 350 points. And I can, if I mix them with this group over here, I can do this and, all that kind of stuff.
It's kind of like building a bunch of little armies and slotting them in together.
Yeah, and it makes, for me at least, it makes for like a faster process of list, because sometimes you go and you meet a friend and you didn't make a list beforehand for whatever reason, and you're just like, I'll throw this and this and this, and it's fun. It's quick. It's good.
Yeah,
it's a good way to do it
I
on
would say
the fly.
List building is not the place I find a lot of satisfaction in the hobby. Like, I know there's people who will tweak and turn every single dial and knob they can to get, every last ounce of efficiency and points out of a list. I'm usually rocking up with like a 2,000 point game. I've got like 1,987 points. This is gonna be fine. It's what fit. It's what fit.
I do enjoy list building somewhat. I like making things fit into point values. I think that's fun. It's like a little puzzle. What would you say gives you the most satisfaction out of the hobby?
Out of the hobby?
Yeah. I mean, you just said list building doesn't give you the most satisfaction out of the hobby. So what gives you the most?
Painting. Absolutely painting and making things like thematic and interesting to look at, making things my own, and just using it as a canvas for artistic expression, where I've got this medium that a lot of people share, so a lot of people can also appreciate, but also bounce off of with their own ideas and their own concepts. I like using it sort of as that sort of artistic escape, and also putting it out on a table together so it looks super cool.
I think that like the artistic element is probably the second most satisfactory thing about the hobby for me.
Yeah. What's your number one?
You're going to hate it. It's the friends we made along the way.
Oh, fuck you. Okay. You said, okay. All right. Yeah. They're fine. They're fine.
Oh man, making friends and having good times. That's what this hobby is about, baby.
I thought you were going to be like painting the base rooms black. At which point I would hit the stop recording button and leave the room.
It's the best part of this hobby is listening to ska music while I play.
Oh, okay. God, I don't need an anxiety attack. Jesus Christ.
What? Ska is relaxing. It's fun. It's all major keys.
It's all upbeat. And it's like a lot of like, it's upbeat and sounds. I don't know. It's kind of anxiety inducing to me.
Your brain just doesn't fucking work, does it?
My brain does not fucking work. We have 59 episodes documenting that fact at this point.
Your brain works fine. You're a very smart, intelligent, kind, and thoughtful person, and I love you.
At least two of those words are correct, and I love you too.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. I think list building is, but before we move on, I think list building is a very interesting thing. I would love to hear what listeners have to say about that. If you want to get us at our email and just tell us how you like to build a list and if it matches up with the way we think about it at all. And it might be completely different, and you might be like, I like to build my list in the most cutthroat way imaginable, Liam, and that's fine. That's cool. I want to hear about it. I think it would be a cool mental exercise to put myself in somebody else's shoes and think about lists for a little bit. But let's move on, Campbell.
All right.
I have a simple question for you.
Yeah.
When is an army finished?
It isn't. We will die before we finish our armies.
Ooh.
Next topic.
Ooh. No, I'm going to need you to fucking work on that one, buddy.
All right. I think I can flesh this out with some actual discussion, some actual points here. So yeah, when is an army finished? Like, at what point can you put the army down and be like, all right, I'm done building, buying, and painting for this. The army's done. I can play with it, but I'm done. And I feel like there's a lot of approaches you can take to, what is going to be the way you're building to a finished army. So I figure first up is the predetermined goal. So this is the case of someone, let's say, building to a list, or they want to specifically collect the background, or collect a forest base in the background. So like they want to, I can't say words. They're like, okay, I'm in a way.
I shouldn't have been so nice to you earlier when I said
no,
those
you
nice
shouldn't
things.
have. No, it threw me off, and now I'm flubbing everything. Please be mean to me, Dan. I need it.
Hurt me, Daddy.
Hurt me, Danny. Oh, Lord. So yeah, this is a predetermined goal is, I'd say, you want to collect the second company of the Crimson Fists, or what I did where I was like, I want some Dark Angels, but I also don't want a lot of them. How many can I fit in one KR case?
Yeah.
And when they all fit in one KR case, which came out to around 2,000 points at the time, I was like, all right, cool. The army's done. I sold off the extra bits. No, I regular canted them. That was their only case. They never lived anywhere else.
Oh, man, you fucking bougie asshole. Yeah, that's not true. You're not bougie at all. I'm sorry.
I'm not super bougie, no.
Just the word decant. Like, you know what I think of when I hear like decant or decanter, though? I don't think about wine. I think about orange juice.
Orange juice?
Like they put it, like if you go to a brunch, and they're like, boom, decanter orange juice on the table, and you're like,
now who's bougie?
Me. Apparently, now that I think about what I'm saying.
So, there's a diner I go to in Somerville, and they give you a shot glass of orange juice, and that's all you get.
Oh, I fucking hate it when they come out with those tiny little baby cups full of like that fucking compressed Minute Maid, not compressed, but what do you call it? Concentrate, made from concentrate Minute Maid bullshit, and you're like, ugh, this is how much? $2 for these 3 ounces of shitty orange juice, you motherfuckers.
See, this complimentary shot glass is like squeezed that day. It's the real deal, but it is only, again, a shot glass worth of orange juice. This is very interesting.
I guess you go to better diners than I do now. Who's the bougie one? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have brought it back to decanting.
No, that's fine.
I can't do this anymore.
Oh, God. You're decanting that conversation into this one right now.
Oh! There it is. Okay, sorry.
It never ends.
Finishing armies. Let's go.
Yeah, all right, cool. Predetermined goals. There's a force you want to build because you know you're building it, whether it's from the fluff, whether it's from the rules, whether it's just what physically fits. And that is a cool, totally valid way to do it. I have a hard time doing that because new toys come out far too frequently for me, which is an issue for that. But then there is the goal you come across while working on it. This is the goal you made along the way. This was the case with my Crimson Fist, where I was like, I bought up a fuckload of like Rogue Trader Space Marines and I just amassed them over a while. And I started painting them and I was like, I've painted like 4 tactical squads and a Devastator squad and an assault squad at this point. I'm almost at a company. So my goal for the army just became finish out the company. And I think it's the 3rd company of Crimson Fist, the one I was collecting. And I unfortunately stopped when I had 10 Devastators to go, who I just unearthed when I was decanting this weekend, because they were the ones in a case that I had not really opened since college. And yeah, it was cool to kind of come up with that goal along the way, because it meant I didn't have to keep buying shit. I just kind of was like, okay, cool. This is what I want. This is what I know I want. And I'm good with it.
So I think that, like, for me, the goal oriented army thing is not for finishing armies, really. It's for starting armies, unfortunately.
Okay.
Like, when I wanted to do Raven Guard again, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, I want to get a certain number of things done by Adepticon so I could participate in the Adepticon events. Like, to me, that was like the way to get started on the army. And I have a problem with finishing armies because I don't do it. I've written down here, should we even be finishing armies?
Ooh, that's what I have further down here too.
Like my Imperial Guard, my Steel Legion, I haven't painted Steel Legion stuff in like 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm not done with them. I'm going to revisit them at some point when, I feel like it, but it's not what gets me going right now.
Yeah.
But it's not done by any means.
Like, yeah.
So well, I don't know. Like, for me, finishing armies isn't as much as, I guess, like, I don't know, it's events really that does it the most for me. Like, I want to get a certain amount of stuff done for these events. That's usually what motivates me the most to finish stuff. But I wouldn't call my Guard finished. I would call my Grey Knights finished, though.
Because you haven't touched them since 5th edition.
I haven't touched them since 5th edition, and I'm just not going to. It doesn't interest me anymore.
Well, sometimes an army reaches a natural conclusion like that, where you've been working on it for a while and you're kind of good with it.
When you don't care about it anymore.
Ooh, that's a very sad ending. That's
it's like the brave little toaster.
Yeah, no shit. I was gonna say that, or
the brave little Grey Knights. No.
Oh no.
Oh gosh.
The thing is, like, there is that natural conclusion for armies when you kind of lose interest with it, but you can always pick it up later, even if you don't have the clear intent to, like your Guard or like my Guard or like my Orcs or whatever. Like, I can go back to and just work on more of it, but I don't really have that drive to. And that is the thing that events and new rules always kind of spur. Because, like, yeah, when let's say the supplement thing keeps going and there is supplement Valhallans and it's a supplement for a bunch of metal models from the mid-90s. Don't dash my dreams, please. At that point, yeah, of course I'll probably paint more of them.
I don't want to dash your dreams, Campbell, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
I sincerely doubt that's going to happen, but I've been wrong before. I'm more wrong than right.
I feel like that's a non-starter.
I'm guessing it's not, but we'll find out. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like the idea of a finished army, I don't really feel comfortable with that idea. Like, yeah. I reserve the right to go back and restart any project.
Well, like I figure if I paint every single every Primaris Marine I have, which according to my spreadsheet, I don't have that right now, but like I have a spreadsheet with all my Primaris stuff inventoried, and I've got like 800 points to go. And when I'm done with that, I figure I'll probably get the new stuff. But once I've finished that new stuff, I'm not going to need to get like more intercessors. I'm not going to need to get more hellblasters, probably. Like, it's not quite the gotta catch 'em all army where you get one of everything, but it's pretty,
That's kind of where I'm going with my Raven Guard, is having
the gotta catch 'em all
kind of thing.
Yeah,
but there's some exceptions on the units that I really like, and I have multiples. But I don't know, man. I love like with Raven Guard, for me, it's like I work on a bunch of that for an event like Adepticon or Nova, and then after that, or I'll take a break with Necromunda or Blood Bowl or now Aeronautica Imperialis. Like, I don't know. I just don't even think like finishing an army is a thing. Like, it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be. I mean, I feel like maybe if you collected an entire chapter, if you're one of those folks who's like, I got the entire Dark Angels chapter, or whatever, you can probably call it on that army, because there's at least a finite size to them in the lore, and I feel like that's probably good. But
it's madness.
Whatever.
It's madness.
It is madness, and thus Alexander wept, for there were no more hams to paint.
Oh man. That's good. But so do you have any actually finished armies? Because I do. I consider my Grey Knights finished.
You could first. Okay. I got a guard army I painted in college. That's finished. I'm not painting anything else for that. But the thing is, I'm going to start pulling things out of that and painting it for my Valhallans, like repainting my Lehman Russos. Because like,
are you really?
When it comes, that's the plan. My Valhallan paint scheme is just like the same military green, but then with a whitewash over it. Like that, white dry brush over it.
Did you get enthusiastic about your Valhallans because you painted those planes?
A little bit, because I painted them to match my Valhallan planes, but also because I'm reading all the Gaunt's Ghost books right now. And I'm just reading
for the first time?
Yeah.
Oh man, we got to talk about these.
I want to. I want to do maybe a segment on Gaunt's Ghost at some point in the future that is necessarily just a 40k book club, but it's just kind of talking generally about Gaunt's Ghost. Right now, I'm taking a brief break to read Double Eagle at the point where it kind of fits in the chronology.
Oh, we should do 40k book club about Double Eagle. I love that book.
I'm like a third of the way through, and I like how the action's written. It's very fast paced. I don't know who most of the characters are. Like, most of the characters are not leaving a big impression on me. The villain is dope. Jagdia is cool still. Viltri I thought was a maniac for a while, until I found out he was written to be a more sympathetic character about, again, a third of the way through the book. But I'm having a kind of a hard time with some of the characters in it.
Okay, well, save it for the show, because we're 100% down the road doing 40k book club on Double Eagle.
Which is not the 40k book club that we'll be announcing at the end of the show, I don't think.
No, it's not. But we're gonna do a different one. I love that segment. We need to bring it back. We haven't done it in ages.
We'll do 2 in rapid succession.
We certainly will. So do you have anything else you want to say about finishing armies?
It's, again, like so much of this hobby, it's up to you when it's finished. And there's limitations, be they space, time, money, whatever. But only you can decide when it's done. And if you never do, that's totally fine, because like my Dark Angels, that's an army that I have that's finished. They're done. I'm not touching them again. I sold off all the extra bases I had. I sold off all the extra models I have. I'm like, this army is done. It is set.
I don't know. Army. I'm never going back to them.
Well, here's the thing. They're the second time I've done a Dark Angels army, and they look really nice. Like, they look great. I'm really happy with how they look, but they're not, I don't think they're going to see a ton of play. That is an army I would definitely put on in a display case and kind of leave it there. I would also say my Knights are probably done.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I don't really need to get more of them, because for one, no one will play with me.
Yeah.
But for two, I have my Guard Regiment. That's cool. I have if I wanted to, I could do 2 more Armigers and the Preceptor Knight that watches over them and makes them better, but I don't really need to. Like, I've got a good force. It's like 2,000. It's like 2,500 points. I don't need more. Yeah. Like, that force feels pretty done. I'd say I have 2 finished armies.
Okay. I like how part of the reason why that army's finished is because nobody will play with you.
Oh, totally. Because if I'm not going to get to use my toys, why am I going to paint them?
Good point. Very good point. Okay, so let's get into it, man. The marquee segment, the one that everybody keeps coming back for. Factor fan fiction. And I'm just hoping you got something for me today that you could call a home run.
I don't know. This is more of a pigskin game, if I say so myself. I didn't dream. I rarely dream. Dreaming is for the weak of mind and spirit. Instead, I remembered. The events of the day, or days previous, played themselves back on the screen of my mind. I studied myself, noting flaws and strengths. Sometimes the God Emperor spoke to me in these memories. This time, there is no comforting voice. Only the squealing of hogs. I hate hogs. That had been my first duty at the Scala Progenium. Slop the hogs. Clean their pen again and again. They never stopped eating, rooting, and rutting. Fat, slovenly, undisciplined creatures, always tearing down fences. No discipline. Hogs. Couldn't be trained. Couldn't be taught. They were tough. They had accompanied man to the stars like dogs and rats, and like them, they'd found the galaxy to their liking. Where there were men, there were hogs. Eating and being eaten. I still had a scar in my hip where a boar hog had tossed me, lifted me screaming and hurled me, bloody, into the muck. I remember them circling me, hungry and snorting, gray mounds of hairy filth gliding over the mud, and every one of them with bright blue eyes. Only that wasn't right. I woke up knowing it wasn't right. Hogs didn't have blue eyes. The ones of the Scala Progenium hadn't had eyes at all, having been bred for generations in underground pens. The thought startled me awake, and I sat for a moment. Uncertain of where I was, hearts thumping, I couldn't hear the guns. So, legit question for you, Dan, who is a rural American. How do I kill the 30 to 50 feral hogs that run into my yard within 3 to 5 minutes while my scout marines play?
Oh, wow. Timely. Mm-hmm. Excellent work on your timing.
Yeah, I know. It took a while to find a hogs fan fiction, all right? Hog fiction is rare.
So, okay, here's the thing about this little piece. So, I didn't hear any grammatical mistakes. And I also didn't hear any, like, Sonic the Hedgehogs or Pikachu.
No, Sonic did not show up in this one.
So, despite it being about hogs, I'm going with fact on
You
this.
are correct. That is The Beast in the Trenches by Josh Reynolds.
Yeah!
This was sent in by a listener, Private Snafu, when they were reading one of the it's in the Warhammer horror compendium collection sort of thing.
Oh, and, wow.
You know, it's...
Why did they have blue eyes? Do
I don't know. I assume it's Sans.
I wrote down a couple
What did you write down?
While you were reading this. So the point of view character said that they study themselves. Mm-hmm. I don't really study myself in my sleep because I do dream because I'm of weak mind.
Yes.
But I do study myself like in the mirror, and and it's mostly bad.
Oh, you're a beautiful boy, Dan. I would not shame yourself.
So mostly a bad time. Well, I'm old, so you know how that goes. I'm an old man.
You're turning to dust before your own eyes.
Dusty old bones. Full of green dust. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's do some plugs before we do. I'm gonna start out with the Patreon.
Yeah.
So it's an ingenious way to waste both time and money with us. You can give us a little bit of money and hear more of our voices and while away more of your life.
Your limited time on this earth will be given to us. And how's about that?
It seems like a bad idea, but it's an option.
It's a bad idea, but it's your bad idea. And that's what's important.
You own your terrible ideas. But there are a lot of fun things on our Patreon that might entice you to join us. We've got bonus content that comes out every month. We've got that we call our bad boy tier. Then we have the fuckboy tier, which comes out whenever we feel like it, whenever we got something good going on. And I got something in the works, gang.
Ooh, yeah.
I got something in the works that you're not going to want to miss for the fuckboy tier.
Yeah, you better stick around for this paid shitpost content.
It's going to be real bad. So that's 40k Badcast, or I'm sorry, patreon.com/40k Badcast. And you can join us at one of our 3 tiers. I suggest you do, but you don't have to enjoy the regular show, as it will always be free.
Now, if you want to give us money and also announce to the world that you've given us money, we sell t-shirts at shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast, where we've got a whole array of t-shirt designs, whether it's team sports, team anime, Team Weed, whatever. We've got a bunch, even classic logo shirts. We got a whole load.
We had an email recently where a fella, he called in, or not called in because it's an email, but he wrote in and he admitted to being on both Team Anime and Team Metal. And I was like, oh God.
All right. Well,
but like both of them do make it right. Like on each, like, okay, both of them on their own. So I'm like, okay, it's acceptable. But owning up to liking both metal and anime, Campbell, you've got to feel terrible.
I feel terrible every single day I wake up, but I feel way better when I hear these screaming pipes of Rob Halford pumping out of my speakers as I try to catch up on Mob Psycho 300 Season 2. Is that what anime people like these days? I don't remember anymore.
Sports and ska sounds just like, it's like fun. Like what you'd get at a picnic.
Well, that's the thing is whenever you watch the catcher try to catch the ball, you just go pick it up, because he's trying to get the ball. It's on the ground. I don't watch sports. Is that what they do? Wow. Did the catcher catch the ball?
Well, if he has to pick it up off the ground, Campbell, he didn't catch the ball, did he?
Oh, that's true. It's true. Ooh, swinging for the fences with that one.
It's the baseball episode.
So we do both write for Goonhammer.com. I wrote a Necro Monday recently about playing Goliaths, where our good friend Jules filled in all the parts I was not smart enough to fill in.
Yeah, and I was very glad that you wrote that Necro Monday because I was supposed to be out of town going to New York Comic-Con with my friend Mark, but I was too sick to go.
Oh, I didn't know that. That sucks, dude.
Yeah, I had a terrible intestinal virus.
Ooh, and so I'm sorry to hear that.
It was a situation where not only did I have to miss out on going to Comic-Con, I had to turn down repeated offers to go to baseball games because I had to stay close to a friendly bathroom.
Oh, I am so sorry, Dan.
It was awful, and it lasted for a whole week.
Fuck.
It was really bad. It was not a recording week, though, so.
That's fair.
Or was it? I don't remember or care.
I don't remember.
But yeah, so that was lame. But yeah, we what were we talking about? Fuck. I was like sports and ska. Oh man,
sports and ska and shitting.
Oh wow,
frequently.
The 3 S's.
I thought 3 S's were shit.
What were we talking about?
Shit and shower.
What were we talking about?
We're going through our plugs.
Goonhammer. All right, Goonhammer. Okay, yeah. So I was thankful that you wrote that because I was unable to do so. Good. Because Necro Monday is usually like I am the other half of that, but you were the me half for once, which is very nice of you, and thank you for that. It
was part of my Dan Boyd LARP. Yeah, it does take a while. I'm glad I didn't have anything to do for my actual job that day because that was my actual job that day.
Yeah, it takes like putting together these articles. It takes probably Jules and I. It probably takes us like 2 full work days of getting these things done every week.
Yeah, I'd say my how to paint radar bases for Aeronautica when that drops in, probably by the time you listen to this, I hope. Whenever that drops, like that definitely took me like 2 or 3 days of just kind of working on it and taking pictures and actually making sure like I'm writing this article on how to paint stuff as I'm figuring out if what I'm painting looks good.
Yeah,
I'm like, how do I write this with confidence when I am not confident?
I'm beginning to regret making it a weekly column.
Yeah, maybe.
And at this point, I feel like if Rob heard me say that, he would like bust down the door and be like, "Hey, you can't be shirking your job. Get to work."
Knowing Rob, he would try to hit that door for 3 turns and miss it every single time.
What a burn.
So we got that stuff down, but also we are going to be doing for our next episode a 40k book club, as we alluded to earlier.
Yes.
And the book we are clubbing about is Rites of Passage by Mike Brooks. This recently came out. It is about a navigator house, and I really want to read into this kind of like portion of the lore that has not been explored much, like really not much since I think the 80s, honestly. So I'm very excited about this one. It might not be available as a softcover book yet, but I think it is available in a hardcover, and it is available as an audiobook. And I don't know about you, but I've never paid a dime for Audible, and they send me free trials like every other month. So, there's a good thing you can do. Cheat the system. Amazon is a shithole company, but good. Audible is a decent service nonetheless.
Yeah, so I had heard very little about this book, and you suggested that you wanted to read it. And would you like to tell us why?
It made Chuds mad. Also that Mike Brooks's Twitter account, basically, he's like been posting some of the reviews people have been leaving, and people left some really nasty, angry reviews because a character goes by they in this book. And I'm like, okay, if it's making shitty people this angry, I should give it a read to see what all the hullabaloo is about, because I'm probably gonna like it.
Wait,
because usually what these people don't like, I like a lot.
Wait, they're mad about non-binary pronouns?
Yeah, on I think an AdMech character, which is a cyborg. So, you know.
God, what a fucking bunch of shitheads.
So basically, it was already on my radar because the premise of it being a book about navigator houses is super interesting to me. But then when I saw like Mike Brooks kind of laughing off the criticism he was getting on Twitter from like really shitty people, I'm like, okay, this dude seems like a cool guy. I've never read anything of his before. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited about this.
Yep. So Rites of Passage, and just make sure Rites of Passage, Warhammer 40,000, or Rites of Passage, Mike Brooks, because Rites of Passage is a very common name for books. So just be more specific about that.
I'm gonna go pick it up. I have a plane to ride on in the next couple of days, so I'm gonna get that and do some plane and hotel reading. I'm excited. I'm
gonna get some listening during the workday when my job is really slow and I have models to paint reading.
Well, speaking of Twitter. Mm-hmm. Join us. I'm going to go follow him after we're done recording, Mike Brooks. Join us and follow Mike Brooks on Twitter. I am at DB_sleazy. He is at Brother SRM. I got it right this time. And you can join us, and we can all three of us, follow Mike Brooks and laugh at the shitheads that he mentions.
Yep. I think that is the best sales pitch for Twitter I've heard in my entire life.
Make fun of assholes on the internet with twitter.com. Okay, and finally, you can reach us at contact@40kbadcast.com. I mentioned that we need more questions for We Make the Call. We need them all the time, but we want to hear about your experiences in list building. We've had some really good pictures of people's hobby zones in their houses coming up, because I'm shopping for a house. Well, actually, Campbell, I found a house. We put an offer on it, got accepted. The contract is ratified, and we got inspection this weekend. So by next episode, I might be talking about how I own a house. I want to hear more about people's hobby spaces. I want to hear more about people's list building. I want to answer questions for We Make the Call. There's a whole lot of stuff I want in our email. We always want to see pictures of your pets or your models or your
pet models
or your model pets. Like, it's all good, man. Just fucking get at us. We want to hear from you. But one important note, if you are going to email us, please take the time to make your email as condescending as you possibly can.
God.
Because that is the only type of emails we want. Condescending, rude, and insulting. All three at once, please.
It's a triple threat.
Yes.
Yeah, pull a hat trick of shitty email writing on us every single week.
Please do. And also throw terrible opinions in there if you can.
Yeah, just really layer that in there.
It's like a cake made of shit.
I want your bad opinions and condescending attitude to be shuffled together like a deck of cards and then eaten in one bite, like Scooby-Doo eating a sandwich.
Like a fucking Dagwood. All right, well, it's the end of the show, and we close it out with a quote from the Warhammer 40k universe every single time. So, Campbell, let us not deprive the listeners of what they came here for. Give me something good, please.
The alien fails because it cannot embrace the Emperor.
Man, I just love embracing that Emperor, don't you?
Well, it's a really big bear hug for my corpse god.
I do it several times a day and twice on the weekends. My name is Dan Boyd. He's Campbell McLaughlin. We're bad at 40K. You can too. And we'll see you in the next cartoon.